Hello gentlemen and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be showing you the top 10 Jagex lies. Now just before we start, I'm going to do a quick disclaimer. This does not actually hold my opinions of Jagex. I'm not going to be expressing my opinions, saying that they're a bad company. I'm just saying that these are things that did happen and that they said wouldn't happen. In each case, it is true and you can find the proof anywhere. So these are just the top 10 things that they kind of went back on their word, or they kind of went a different way than they promised that they would. So I'm going to show you the top 10 Jagex lies. Let's begin now. So for number 10, we have the climbing boot scandal. Now this is not as much of a lie. It's more of like it's not really truthful. They weren't transparent about it. So what happened was that they did raise the climbing boot price from 300 GP all the way to 75k, and their reason was that because it had some combat bonuses, it wasn't the price that it should have been, and 75k was apparently the price that it needed to be. But what happened for real is that it was about the same combat stats as bronze or iron boots, and those were about 1 to 2k. So this wasn't very justified, and the main reason and the main argument that people have against this is that people did merch them and that it was leaked out that this update was going to happen. So some people bought out climbing boots, and in actual reality, it was impossible for like a few months leading up to this update. It was impossible to buy them off the GE because somebody was buying them out. And basically what happened is, in theory, somebody from Jagex let out the word and they were just told, and then they bought them out and they made billions. So for number 9, we have the bot nuke. Now Jagex, when they were like selling this bot nuke to everybody, they told everybody that it would take out all the bots in the game, that RuneScape would basically be bot free, and that we'd never really have to worry about that. It would take down all the botting sites there. You'd get banned instantly and the bots wouldn't even work. So basically what happened is that they did ban a ton of people during that day, but it lasted for about a month and then everything went back to normal. Bots were still available and you could bot without getting caught pretty easily. It wasn't very hard to escape the detection methods once the bots caught up. So their claims kind of were a little bit exaggerated. It's one of the lower on the list because of that. It's not really something that they had a lot of control over. For every antivirus, there's going to be a virus that's better, you know? It's an ongoing battle. But at the same time, they made such a clear statement that they were done with bots that I did include it on this list. Number 8 on the list is RuneFest 2012. Now, if you might have noticed, there was no RuneFest in 2012. And there was a big debate over that because they actually gave out a survey asking people where you'd like to have it. So they put New York, they took another US city, they put London. And because a lot of their player base was from the US and they don't have, not everybody has the money to go all the way to the UK just for RuneFest. So New York did win. And what happened was that they just simply did it. They ignored it and they canceled RuneFest. Some people may say because of the hate that they were getting from a lot of the 2012 updates. A lot of people didn't like that. From EOC, Solomon's Store, Squeal of Fortune, all of that they were just scared to hold a RuneFest because some players might get a little bit angry, there might be a riot or something. That's not what I think happened. I think it's just because they didn't want to do RuneFest in the United States, and they said that they would, but it didn't happen. So for number 7, we have the Double XP weekend. Now, right now, it's kind of like a set thing. Twice a year, you have Double XP weekend. Everybody saves up their protein things. They save up all of their XP for the expensive skills. You know, they'll get it done there because it's Double XP. You're going to spend half the money. You're going to get double. It's going to be double as fast. But if we all remember back to the original Double XP weekend, what they said was it was a one-time thing. They would never ever do this again. It was just for fun. It was a one-time offer. Now, as you can see today, it's become twice a year thing. So basically, it was a lie. They did not tell the truth, and they went back on it because, and I'm sad to say this, but it did cause a lot of spin buying. And the reason for that is because they released very good promotions during Double XP weekend for XP, and people buy membership for it. So they did kind of go back on their word in that respect. So for number 6, we have the free trade. So back in 2007, the Grand Exchange was released. Free trade was taken out. You had a limit, so 15K, 5K, depending on if you're members or free players. And you could only trade that per day or per few hours. And it was a limit, and not a lot of people liked it, but Jagex clearly stated that because of real-world traders, they were going to get out the free trade because it was enabling this, and it is true, and it did cut back on a lot of real-world trading. However, well, as we know now, we have free trade again, and there was a referendum that brought it back along with the wilderness so that we can free trade from this point. However, they did clearly state that they would never bring it back no matter what. They'd always have the trade restrictions. So that is another thing that they did go back on their word on. And it's another one there. Not a lot of people are sad to see this one happen, but it is another one. Number 5 on the list, we have the Solomon Store. Now, when it was released, it is an RWT, basically. It's microtransactions, and you spend your money to get rune coins to buy something in the store. When it was released, it was cosmetic, so everything you bought had no application in the game. It was not useful. It's just if you wanted to, if you had the money to spend, you could get a special outfit. And what they said was that it would only be cosmetic. It would not become like you pay to win, like you get something that's very useful. And this was the case for a little bit of time, but then they released bank boosters. Bank boosters basically gave you more bank spaces. You still have them in the store today, and that was kind of the turning point. So when you got bank boosters, you could buy bank spaces, which was very useful. Today we have keepsake keys, we have things that will grant you extra XP, we have citadel boosters, and a lot of other things that are useful for the game, and I feel like this is kind of a take back on their part because they did say that. Obviously, once you start a microtransaction in your game, you're going to continue and you're going to incorporate it more and more because you're going to say, oh, that makes a lot of money. And from a standpoint at Jagex, they don't have to really keep their word. It's their game. It's your choice if you want to pay membership or not. And they can do whatever they want with it. And there's nothing technically wrong with that. But they did go back on it, and they did notice how great microtransactions were for their own, their own profits. So they said, okay, let's continue doing it. So for number 4, we're starting to get to the bigger ones. So back a long time ago in 2001, 1999, 2000, those years were kind of the beginning of RuneScape, and they did release rare items, and at the time they didn't understand the actual impact of those items because they didn't really think it through. So basically these items you got from events and you could never get them again. So at the time they were pretty cheap, but then people realized, oh hey, these things will never be added to the game again. They're gonna go up in price, and they're limited, so may as well stock up on them. And today party hats are the most expensive items in the game. Basically what Jagex said was that they're never going to do that again because these items were not very good for the economy. They created a lot of problems. So they said they're never going to do that again. And they didn't for many, many years. Back in 2012, when the Squeal of Fortune was released, they did put fish masks into the game. And these were the first rares that were seen again. These are still only about 2-3 mil on GE price. However, they are not attainable anymore. They are only attainable in the past, so that you're never going to see a new one come into the game. Then they went on to Black Santa hats, Cloak of Seasons, Crown of Seasons. They also have a ton of different rares now. Every Christmas they basically have a new rare. Black Santa hat is the most expensive right now. I think it's about 2 bill. So this is a newer rare, and it's 2 bill. So you can see the impact, the financial aspect of that. It is a real issue in the game. So that is one thing that Jagex really did change their look on the game. And I'm not saying whose idea was it to go back on their word, but it did happen, and you can see the results in the game right now. These items are overpriced. Number 3, we have the 120s. Now, when Dungeoneering was released back in 2010, then it was a 120 skill, and there was a lot of controversy over that. People were saying, are you going to make every skill a 120? They were really wondering about that, because at that time, 99s were an achievement. Right now, 99s aren't really considered all that important. But back then, they were a huge achievement, and 120 was a lot of XP. It's 100 mil XP. Not everybody can do that, so the end game was a little bit further out of people's reach. So Jagex basically told everybody, no, we're not going to be doing 120. It's the last one, the last skill to be done and be set to 120. From now on, any new skills will be 99. So what happened was they were honest in that, in the fact that their next skill, divination, was set at 99. However, as you know, invention was set to 120, and you can see this is a contradiction of what they said before, that there would be no other skills to 120. And they're actually talking right now about making other skills to 120, such as Slayer, and they're saying that they're going to be doing this in the upcoming year, as well as combat stats, because those are kind of like, they want to make higher tiered gear. They don't want to stop at 99, and I kind of understand that we are kind of reaching an end game. In that sense, we have tier 92 weapons. They're kind of like pushing it. They're trying to slow themselves down. But eventually, there won't be able to be any more updates. Everything will be 99, and they do need that. However, it is against what they said. It is kind of like a violation. Also, they did put 120 skill capes. That really wasn't too bad because they're not actually making those levels. It's just for if you have the XP, you have like a little bit of something to honor that. But that's not the main issue. The main issue is that they are planning on making a lot of skills 120. So number 2, we have real world trading. Now this is a big issue. It's always bugged RS. It's one of the biggest problems we've ever had. So basically, you could buy gold, as in a lot of these kind of RPGs, MMOs, that you can just go and buy gold from websites, from people who gold farm, and you can pay real money, and then you get the gold back. Now this is not allowed, and Jagex has clearly stated that it's against the rules. This all did change though when Jagex released bonds into the game. Bonds are basically a way of buying gold in an indirect manner. And what you can do is buy a bond from Jagex for $5, and then you can sell it on the GE at currently 14 million. Now, Jagex isn't directly giving you the gold, but you kind of are paying for that gold because you are getting 14 mil for $5. It's indirect and it is a clever way. However, it is technically RWT. The big thing that happened though was when bonds were released, they changed their definition of real world trading. In the beginning, it was you're not allowed to buy gold or use real money to purchase any in-game items, because Jagex says that all those items are property of them, so they're property of Jagex. They changed it to you're not allowed to buy and purchase from any third parties. So that means any gold farmers or off RuneScape people that are trying to sell it, you're not allowed to buy from them. But also it means that Jagex has the right to sell gold. So basically they kind of contradicted themselves. It's been years that they're saying gold farming is horrible, that they don't want people to buy GPs. They go around and start selling it themselves in a smart way. And in the end, I do approve of bonds. I don't have to actually go and spend any money in this game anymore. I just use the gold I have to buy it. But there are people who are purchasing these bonds and getting money for it. So I just want to say that is number 2. And number 1, we all know what's coming, the EOC. Now, it's not the actual EOC that was being released that I'm going to be talking about. The number 1 Jagex lie is when it was released, there was so much hate. People are saying change it back, change it back. Jagex was a little bit stubborn in that. Even seeing that the player base had dropped dramatically, what Jagex said was that they would never, on any account, change the RuneScape game back to a pre-EOC format. And that they would never release any other server like 07, which was released, obviously, and the main game would stay EOC based and nothing would change. They did release 07, and then they did release Legacy Combat, so both games have a non-EOC format. So they kind of realized, okay, our game is really dying. We do need to help it somehow. I'm not complaining about this. I do like pre-EOC, and they did see the problems that it was cutting out a lot of people who really did like that pre-EOC as well. So I'm happy that they got over their pride and they put 07, they put Legacy for everybody so they can enjoy it. And 07 is a great game. I love to play it. However, Jagex did explicitly and firmly state that they would never be doing this. And that's why it's number 1. It's the biggest topic. It's probably the biggest update of all time is EOC. And it was in some forms a disaster, in some forms it is nice. I mean, I like having both there, and I do play on EOC and I do play on Legacy in 07, mostly 07, because I have 2 games. One is for EOC, one is for the old combat, and 07 is really good. I do enjoy it. So those are my top 10 Jagex lies. Again, I'm not saying my personal opinion of Jagex. I love the game developer. I wouldn't still be playing if I did hate them, and if I did hate the game that they created. I mean, it was a part of my childhood. It was a part of a lot of people's childhood. But like anybody, they do make mistakes, and they did just go back on their word. More than this, they did other things too. These are the biggest ones, in my opinion, that did happen. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like it, then give it a like, of course. Tell me what you thought about it in the comments. Tell me your list. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to see what I did wrong, what I did right. As always, stay a gentleman, and if you haven't become one already, the link to subscribe will be right here on screen right now.